Let me start with something that may frighten you, but could also save your future. What if depression, memory loss, Parkinson's disease, and dementia don't actually begin in the brain? What if the real damage starts 10 years earlier, silently, in a place no one ever warned you about? Your gut. Right now, over 6 million Americans are living with dementia. Parkinson's disease is rising faster than any neurological condition we've ever recorded. Depression in seniors has quietly become an epidemic, robbing people not just of happiness, but of motivation, memory, and independence. And yet, millions of older adults are told the same devastating lie. It's just aging. There's nothing you can do. After 35 years of treating elderly patients, I can tell you, that statement is dangerously wrong. For decades, medicine treated the brain like it lived behind an iron wall, protected, isolated, separate from the rest of the body. But modern science has shattered that belief. Your brain is not working alone. In fact, it is being controlled, every single day, by your gut. There is a nerve in your body called the vagus nerve. It runs directly from your gut to your brain. And here's the part that should make you stop and listen carefully. 80% of the signals traveling along this nerve go from the gut to the brain. Only 20% go the other way. That means your gut is constantly telling your brain how to feel, how to think, and how fast to age. When your gut is inflamed, from processed foods, sugary snacks, white bread, artificial sweeteners, or late-night eating, it sends danger signals upward. Those signals increase brain inflammation, drain mental energy, worsen depression and anxiety, accelerate memory loss, and quietly raise the risk of Parkinson's and dementia. I've had patients sit across from me and say, "Doctor, I thought I was losing my mind. I didn't know my stomach was involved." And that misunderstanding has cost millions of people their quality of life. My name is Dr. Michael Carter. For over 3 decades, I've studied how aging affects the body. If you're over 60, something is changing inside your body right now, and most people don't realize it until the damage is already done. Leading medical research shows that once these changes pass a certain point, they become very hard to reverse. In this channel, I break down what the world's leading doctors and scientists are discovering about elderly health. So instead of going through hundreds of confusing studies or videos, you can understand the most important, proven insights in one place and act before it's too late. If you stay with me until the end of this video, I will show you just 3 foods and 5 simple daily rules, backed by top doctors and scientists around the world like Dr. Tim Spector, that can protect your brain, calm your gut, and potentially prevent many mental diseases like dementia, Parkinson's, or anxiety. Before we continue, I want you to pause and leave a comment below. How old are you? Which concerns you more right now? Gut problems, memory issues, or depression? My team and I read every comment. You are not alone in this. Let me explain this in plain, simple language. Your gut is home to 40 to 100 trillion tiny microbes. Think of them as workers in a massive factory. When you feed them the right foods, they produce calming, protective chemicals that reduce inflammation and nourish your brain. But when you feed them processed foods, what I call gut junk, they produce inflammatory toxins instead. Now here's where Parkinson's enters the picture. Recent large population studies show something shocking. Nearly 90% of people who later developed Parkinson's had gut problems, constipation, bloating, slow digestion, up to 10 years before their brain symptoms appeared. Why does this matter? Because when the gut is inflamed, a protein called alpha-synuclein begins to fold incorrectly. These damaged proteins slowly travel up the vagus nerve to the brain, a journey that takes nearly a decade. By the time tremors or stiffness appear, the process has already been active for years. This means Parkinson's doesn't start in the brain. It starts in the gut. The same inflammation also affects mood and memory. This is why chronic gut inflammation is now linked to depression that doesn't respond to medication, higher dementia risk, faster cognitive aging. Even oral bacteria play a role. Poor gum health allows harmful microbes to reach the brain, which is why something as simple as daily flossing has been shown to reduce dementia risk by nearly 50%. This isn't about fear. This is about power. Because when you calm the gut early, you don't just treat symptoms, you change the trajectory of your brain's future. And next, I'm going to show you the 5 daily habits that do exactly that. Habits that have helped my patients reclaim clarity, confidence, and independence. After decades of working with elderly patients, I've learned something that most people are never told until it's too late. Aging itself is not what destroys the brain. What destroys the brain is chronic inflammation, poor metabolic health, and years of gut dysfunction that quietly accumulate beneath the surface. This is why I don't talk only about living longer. I talk about health span, the years of life when you can still think clearly, move confidently, feel emotionally stable, and recognize the people you love. Depression, Parkinson's disease, and dementia are not simply brain problems. They are often the final outcome of a body, and especially a gut, that has been under constant stress for years. The encouraging truth is that when you improve gut health, you are not just helping digestion, you are actively protecting your brain, your mood, and your independence. The following 5 habits come directly from the most up-to-date gut-brain science, and from what I've seen work consistently in real elderly patients. The first and most powerful habit is restoring diversity in the gut. Your gut contains tens of trillions of microbes, and each one plays a specific role in regulating inflammation, immunity, and brain signaling. When these microbes are well-fed and diverse, they send calming, protective signals to the brain. When they are starved or imbalanced, they send inflammatory signals instead. This inflammation is now known to accelerate cognitive aging and increase the risk of depression and dementia. Most seniors unknowingly eat a very narrow range of foods, the same breakfast, the same lunch, the same dinner, week after week. Over time, this lack of variety reduces microbial diversity, which weakens the gut's ability to protect the brain. Expanding the variety of plant foods across the week, vegetables, fruits, beans, lentils, nuts, seeds, whole grains, herbs, and spices, feeds different beneficial microbes and lowers systemic inflammation. This is not about becoming vegetarian or following a strict diet. It is about feeding the gut ecosystem so it can defend the brain. The second habit focuses on how you eat, not just what you eat. Eating in a distracted state, in front of the television, while scrolling on a phone, or while rushing, interferes with digestion and increases stress responses in the body. When the gut does not receive proper signals to prepare for digestion, food is processed inefficiently, and inflammatory byproducts increase. Over time, this contributes to fatigue, brain fog, and low mood that many seniors mistake for normal aging or depression. Eating with awareness helps restore the gut-brain connection. When you slow down, chew properly, and give your full attention to a meal, the gut responds more effectively. Nutrients are absorbed better, inflammation is reduced, and the brain receives clearer signals of safety and nourishment. Many patients notice that simply eating more mindfully improves their energy and emotional balance within weeks, without changing medications. The third habit is shifting your focus from calories to quality. For many years, older adults were encouraged to eat low-fat, low-calorie foods to protect their health. Unfortunately, this approach often backfires. Highly processed diet foods may be low in calories, but they are disruptive to the gut microbiome and increase hunger hormones and inflammation. Chronic inflammation is one of the strongest drivers of brain aging, depression, and neurodegenerative disease. The brain does not measure calories. It responds to the quality and structure of food. Whole foods that remain close to their natural form, foods that still have fiber, texture, and complexity, support stable blood sugar and steady brain energy. When seniors replace ultra-processed foods with higher-quality whole foods, they often experience improved concentration, more stable mood, and fewer energy crashes. This habit alone can significantly extend health span by protecting the brain's metabolic health. The fourth habit is deliberately reducing high-risk, ultra-processed foods. These foods are engineered to be hyper-palatable, easy to chew, and difficult to stop eating. They often contain emulsifiers, preservatives, and artificial sweeteners that damage the gut lining and disrupt beneficial bacteria. Over time, this leads to a leaky gut, allowing inflammatory compounds to enter the bloodstream and reach the brain. This chronic, low-grade inflammation is now strongly associated with depression and cognitive decline. In Parkinson's disease, emerging evidence suggests that inflammation originating in the gut may play a role years before motor symptoms appear. Removing even a few high-risk, ultra-processed foods can reduce inflammatory burden and improve mental clarity. This is not about perfection. It is about reducing the daily assault on the gut that silently accelerates brain aging. Together, these four habits begin to calm the gut, reduce inflammation, and restore healthier communication between the gut and the brain. They lay the foundation for protecting mood, memory, and movement as you age. But there is one final habit that ties everything together. A habit related to rest and timing, which many seniors completely overlook. Many seniors are doing everything right with food choices and still feel tired, foggy, or emotionally flat. This is often because the gut is never given time to rest. Just like the brain needs sleep to repair itself, the gut also needs periods of recovery to restore balance and prevent long-term damage. This brings us to the fifth essential habit, giving the gut a daily window of rest. When you eat from early morning until late at night, digestion never truly shuts down. The gut lining does not have time to repair, and inflammatory signals continue to flow to the brain. Over months and years, this constant metabolic stress contributes to insulin resistance, chronic inflammation, and accelerated brain aging. These same processes are strongly linked to depression, memory decline, and neurodegenerative disease. Allowing a 12-hour overnight break between your last meal and your first meal the next day gives the gut a chance to reset. During this time, the body activates repair mechanisms, clears damaged cells, and restores healthier communication between the gut and the brain. This is not extreme fasting. It is simply aligning eating patterns with the body's natural circadian rhythm. Many seniors notice improved mental clarity, better sleep, and more stable mood within weeks of adopting this habit. Closely related to gut rest is metabolic rhythm. The brain relies on stable energy signals to function properly. Late-night snacking, especially on processed or sugary foods, disrupts blood sugar regulation and increases inflammation overnight. This is one reason why people often wake up feeling anxious, depressed, or mentally sluggish. Ending food intake earlier in the evening allows the brain to receive calmer, more consistent signals, which supports emotional balance and cognitive resilience. Another often overlooked contributor to gut-driven brain inflammation is oral health. The mouth is one of the largest reservoirs of bacteria in the body, and when oral hygiene is poor, harmful microbes can enter the bloodstream and trigger inflammatory responses that affect the brain. Research has shown that poor gum health is associated with a significantly higher risk of dementia. Simple daily habits, such as brushing thoroughly and flossing, are not just about teeth. They are about protecting the brain from chronic inflammation. This may seem surprising, but it reinforces a critical truth about health span. Everything in the body is connected. The gut, the mouth, the immune system, and the brain are not separate systems. They are parts of one continuous network. When inflammation is reduced in one area, the benefits ripple throughout the body. I have seen patients with long-standing depression regain emotional stability once gut inflammation was addressed. I have seen seniors with early cognitive decline stabilize for years by improving metabolic and gut health. Depression, Parkinson's disease, and dementia thrive in environments of chronic inflammation, metabolic dysfunction, and neglected gut health. By changing that environment, you are not fighting these conditions directly. You are removing the conditions they depend on to grow. This is why I encourage seniors to stop thinking in terms of short-term fixes and start thinking in terms of daily protection. Small, consistent changes, practiced over months and years, have a far greater impact on brain health than any single pill or supplement. In the next part of this video, I will show you how to strengthen these habits even further using just 3 specific foods. Foods that act like natural medicine for the gut and brain. These foods directly lower inflammation, support beneficial bacteria, and provide powerful protection for mood, memory, and long-term cognitive health. If your goal is not just to live longer, but to live clearly, independently, and with emotional stability, then what comes next is especially important. If I had to choose just one category of food that delivers the fastest and most noticeable improvement in gut and brain health for seniors, it would be fermented foods. These foods work at the deepest biological level, calming inflammation that directly affects mood, memory, and neurological stability. Fermented foods are created when natural bacteria transform ordinary foods into biologically active forms. During this process, the food becomes easier to digest, richer in beneficial compounds, and far more powerful in its effect on the immune system. Professor Tim Spector recommends small daily portions of foods like fermented milk drink, yogurt, sauerkraut, fermented cabbage, spicy fermented cabbage, fermented tea, miso or tempeh. When seniors regularly consume fermented foods, the gut environment begins to shift from inflammatory to protective. This matters enormously for depression, because chronic inflammation interferes with the brain's ability to regulate serotonin and dopamine. It also matters for Parkinson's disease, which is now strongly linked to inflammatory processes that begin in the gut years before tremors appear. For dementia, inflammation accelerates brain aging and neuronal damage. One of the most important discoveries in recent years is that fermented foods reduce inflammatory markers in the blood far more effectively than fiber alone. Even when fermented foods are pasteurized, the remnants of beneficial microbes still interact with immune cells in the gut, helping retrain the immune system to calm down rather than stay in a constant state of alert. Helen, age 71, had lived with persistent low mood and mental fatigue for years. She described it as a heaviness in my head and chest. Her digestion was slow, and she felt bloated after most meals. We introduced small daily servings of fermented foods, starting gently to avoid discomfort. Within a month, she told me something important. "Doctor, I still have worries, but I don't feel trapped in them anymore." That emotional relief was not psychological suggestion. It was the result of reduced gut-driven inflammation reaching the brain. For seniors, fermented foods are not about chasing trends. They are about restoring a biological process that humans relied on for thousands of years before modern processing removed it from the diet. Protein is essential as we age, but this is where many seniors unknowingly make a mistake that harms gut and brain health. Most older adults rely heavily on animal-based proteins or processed protein products, believing they are necessary to maintain strength. While protein itself is important, the absence of fiber in these foods creates a hidden problem. Gut bacteria depend on fiber to survive. When the diet is high in protein but low in fiber, beneficial gut microbes starve. As these microbes decline, the gut produces fewer anti-inflammatory compounds, and inflammation begins to rise. Over time, this inflammatory state contributes to depression, insulin resistance, and accelerated cognitive decline. Plant-based protein sources solve this problem because they deliver protein and fiber together. This combination allows seniors to maintain muscle mass while simultaneously feeding gut bacteria that protect the brain. Because while 90% of people already get enough protein, 90% of people are deficient in fiber. Foods like beans, legumes, mushrooms, quinoa, whole grains, and pearl barley, especially instead of white rice, provide protein and fiber together. These foods also slow digestion, stabilize blood sugar, and reduce metabolic stress, all critical for preserving cognitive function. This is especially important for Parkinson's and dementia, because poor metabolic health and unstable blood sugar are strongly associated with faster brain aging. A gut that is well fed with fiber produces short-chain fatty acids that support brain energy metabolism and reduce neuroinflammation. Arthur, age 75, came to me worried about memory lapses and worsening constipation. He believed he needed more meat to stay strong. Instead of removing protein, we gradually replaced some animal-based meals with plant-based protein sources. Over several months, his digestion normalized, his energy became more consistent, and his wife noticed he was more engaged and alert during conversations. We did not weaken his body. We protected his gut and, in turn, his brain. For seniors, this shift is not about ideology or restriction. It is about choosing protein sources that support both physical strength and long-term cognitive health. The third food group plays a critical defensive role in brain health: polyphenol-rich foods. These are naturally colorful or bitter plant foods that contain compounds designed by nature to protect against stress and damage. Polyphenols do not act like simple vitamins. They function as signals that strengthen gut bacteria and reduce inflammation throughout the body. When gut bacteria break down polyphenols, they produce compounds that improve blood flow, support mitochondrial function, and protect brain cells from oxidative stress. This is particularly important for seniors because oxidative stress accelerates the processes behind dementia and Parkinson's disease. It also contributes to mental fatigue and low mood, which many people experience as depression. Brightly colored plants like berries and purple vegetables, bitter foods like extra virgin olive oil, dark chocolate and coffee, and nuts such as walnuts and almonds help reduce oxidative stress and support memory and mental energy. Interestingly, many polyphenol-rich foods are slightly bitter. That bitterness is not a flaw. It is a signal of biological activity. These foods encourage the growth of beneficial gut microbes that thrive on complex plant compounds and help regulate immune responses. Marianne, age 69, had a strong family history of dementia and lived with constant anxiety about cognitive decline. She described herself as mentally exhausted by mid-afternoon. We focused on gradually increasing polyphenol-rich foods rather than making drastic changes. After several weeks, she reported fewer energy crashes and improved emotional stability. She said, "My brain feels like it lasts longer through the day." That mental endurance is one of the clearest signs of improved health span. These three food groups work because they address gut health from complementary angles. Fermented foods calm the immune system and reduce inflammation. Plant-based proteins nourish the gut while supporting strength. Polyphenol-rich foods protect brain cells and slow aging processes. Together, they create an internal environment where depression is less intense, Parkinson's progression may slow, and dementia risk is reduced. These foods do not promise miracles. They provide something far more valuable: biological protection over time. For seniors, consistency matters more than perfection. Small daily exposures to these foods accumulate, gradually lowering inflammation and strengthening gut-brain communication. This is how you preserve clarity, independence, and emotional resilience as you age. You do not need to change everything at once. In fact, the most successful patients I've worked with started with one small step. They added a fermented food. They extended the overnight gap between dinner and breakfast. They added one extra plant to their plate. They stopped eating distracted. These small choices, repeated daily, created profound, long-term change. Remember, consistency matters more than perfection. Your gut responds to patterns, not occasional effort. Each positive choice sends a signal of safety and balance to the brain. If there is one message I hope stays with you, it is this: aging does not have to mean decline. Depression, Parkinson's disease, and dementia are not sudden events that appear out of nowhere. In many cases, they are the result of years of silent inflammation, poor gut health, and neglected daily habits. And that means something powerful. You have influence over your future health. By improving gut health, you are not chasing a miracle cure. You are doing something far more realistic and far more effective. You are supporting the gut-brain communication that affects memory, mood, and movement. This is what health span truly means. Not just adding years to life, but adding life to your years. If this helped you, please subscribe to the channel so we can continue sharing practical, science-backed guidance for healthy aging. Thank you for watching.